Hey, boys, modern problems call for modern solutions like this one.
We're still always able to see them. To solve this issue, the government came up with a new special camouflage pattern called Epstein list, which allows them to sneak through completely undetected.
Yep, no government can see that, as, of course, we are just days away from what many people believe to be the biggest Epstein disclosure ever. Will we actually get it? I'm going to be answering that in this particular video, as we are T-minus 9 days away from the federal government complying with the Epstein Transparency Act, as there's going to be some key people, specifically the Clintons, testifying right before its expected release. All of this as Tucker Carlson was just on the Theo Von podcast, and he had some very eye-opening things to say about what really happened to Epstein and the grander conspiracy behind it. All of this as even MTG is coming out and revealing private conversations that she had with Donald Trump and what is happening behind the scenes, and the official explanation, according to Trump, to why some of these files have not yet been released. We also have an older statement 2 weeks ago from the FBI director. We're going to be playing this. I think MTG's comments are very, very important. That's what we're going to be playing in this particular video, as well as Tucker Carlson's, because we know Tucker Carlson actually talks to Donald Trump, and he has been trying to convince him to release the list and become more accountable and transparent, since he does understand, just like we do, like we've been telling you specifically, that this is not a single issue that people will just let go and forget. This is going to be a lingering issue that is going to have a major impact, not just on the legacy, but the current political landscape that we're living in, and not just the kind of energy, but force and power that Donald Trump could utilize unless utilized incorrectly. Thank you so much for everyone who is subscribing to these types of videos and likes these types of videos. We definitely appreciate you on our brand new channel that's doing incredibly well, and some of the videos are actually outperforming videos on the main channel that has almost 1 million subscribers. So yeah, we only have a few of you guys, the few loyal people here. You guys are amazing and very incredible. As of course, let's just get right into it, as a federal judge has just decided to unseal the Epstein grand jury files in South Florida, as transcripts are now authorized to be made public. As the judge cited the passage of the Epstein File Transparency Act, the Trump administration previously beforehand said, hey, we're going to try to get these files released. They released the memo, and then the judges were like, no. Now, there has been official legislation passed overwhelmingly, except for I think one Republican was like, people are going to get hurt. Yeah, I wonder who is going to get hurt from all of this, as now judges are complying with transparency here. We have 9 days until the files are supposed to be released. Right before that file release, Bill and Hillary Clinton have been refusing to testify about the Epstein list, the Epstein files, their involvement with Mr. Epstein, that, by the way, was being snuck into the Bill Clinton White House in the 1990s. Yes, you heard that correctly. The guy who was sneaking him in also met a very interesting demise to his existence, by the way. That's a deeper down the rabbit hole to go down, as, of course, there were serious conversations about contempt of Congress charges being placed on Bill and Hillary Clinton. Now we are finding out that Bill Clinton will actually be testifying December 17th, 7 days from now. Hillary Clinton will be testifying December 18th, as there are multiple government DOJ employees and whistleblowers and witnesses that have told people publicly, and Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the FBI, came out and said this himself, that when Epstein took what many people presume to be small children in the back of the plane to do really horrible, illegal, illicit stuff with, Bill Clinton was there. If that's the case, there's no plausible deniability. And then December 19th is when the files are supposed to be released here. Now, Tucker Carlson just came out and on the Theo Von podcast very brilliantly described the kind of conspiracy at foot here that is far more greater than a lot of people understand it to be.
Epstein was murdered in prison, okay? I know a lot about it. I'm not just throwing that out there. Epstein was murdered in prison.
Well, they put him with a cellmate that was kind of a crazy, like, former police officer, right?
Yeah, a former police officer killed a number of drug dealers. I'm not saying that guy did it, but I'm saying, well, I asked Bureau of Prisons. because I learned all this stuff about it because I know Epstein's brother, Mark, well. And I never expected to go down this rabbit hole at all. The guy called me like a week after his brother was killed.
Mark did?
Yeah. And so, yeah, I was literally sitting in my backyard in Maine, and he called me, and I don't know how he got my cell. And it ended up this years-long thing. It's not interesting, and I won't bore you with it, but the bottom line is Jeff Epstein was murdered in federal lockup in Manhattan in the secure unit. I think there were only 16 men on the unit, and I think only 14 there that night. I may have that slightly wrong, but it's very small, and it's the most secure federal lockup in the United States, and he got murdered in it.
Yep, and then the correctional guards lied about what actually really happened. They got a slap on the wrist for perjury. The surveillance cameras, numerous ones, over 6 of them, just failed. Whoa. In the most secure unit where he supposedly is supposed to be on protective watch so he doesn't self-harm himself after an alleged first attempt to self-harm himself, which he and his lawyer came out and said it was an attack against him. Remember, because this was not allegedly his first attempt. His first attempt was he got beat up, according to the lawyer. The lawyer came out and says, I don't believe this official story. Epstein was not trying to take his own existence away from himself. Tucker then goes on and describes how Bill Barr, whose father gave him the start, was involved here and was trying to prove the official narrative before even investigating what actually even happened here. Before playing that clip and the MTG clip, which is really eye-opening, just really quickly, we just wanted to tell you about wearechange.shop. We got a great shop. One of the great bundles we have is a Sunforce bundle with magnesium. Lots of people deficient in magnesium, magnesium glycinate, great thing to take with your last meal of the day before you go to sleep. Dr. Rhonda Patrick came out and said, magnesium is one of the most evidence-backed supplements for treating migraines. 400, 600 mg per day of oral magnesium reduces migraine frequency and intensity versus placebo in randomized trials. Lots of amazing stuff with placebos, by the way. The thoughts, the beliefs, being able to speak to yourself and your body. Some new studies are coming out that highlighting how, yeah, they're very, very important, as people are saying that magnesium stabilizes your neural membrane, reducing brain hyperexcitability, and modulates cerebral vascular tone, whatever that means. I don't even know. As she says, for routine supplementation, magnesium, glycinate, citrate, or taurine are preferred for bioavailability. Glycinate is one of the most bioavailable forms of magnesium. There's some forms of magnesium that are not bioavailable, and you just kind of take it out and you kind of poop it out, and it's kind of a strain on your system. But for me, this is the best one for your nervous system. This is the best one for sleep, as there are new studies highlighting how a lot of people can't take in vitamin Bs. They can't take in vitamin Bs, and then a lot of people see, oh yeah, their magnesium levels, or they can't take in vitamin D, their magnesium levels are low. There's a new study showing how fish oils, which we also have available, also help people take in vitamin Bs, which some people are also deficient in, and lots of deficiencies. Why? Because our food is literally being robbed of nutrients and minerals that it used to have. Previous generations used to have really healthy, good food. We have really heavily processed fake food out there that is being monocropped and has very little nutritional value than what previous people used to have. That's why I believe supplementation is absolutely critical and important, and that's why I started wearechange.shop. I take these supplements myself. I can't recommend them enough. Check it out and support us all by supporting yourself on wearechange.shop. Great stocking stuffers. Let's get back to Tucker Carlson here.
So that raises all kinds of obvious questions, like who has the power to do that? So that's a big deal. And then the attorney general at the time helped cover it up. And I know him. And
yeah, he came out. He's like, oh, he absolutely did it. I saw the video. And then people are like, where's the video? Oh, the video's deleted. What video did you see? Because Bill Barr came out. I saw the video. Absolutely. No, the official version's true. What video? And then the general public was given like a video of a corridor that didn't even show the hallway or the door into Epstein's cell, right? Because that was one of the cameras that actually worked. 6 of them just magically just didn't work.
Bill Barr. So I say that, and he's like, oh, I'm going to sue you. And I said, go ahead and sue me.
The fact that there's a threat of lawsuit here shows, like, my goodness. I mean, come on.
I hope you will. And what's the answer? Like, why don't you answer? He never will. Well, it turns out, and this does make you crazy, that his father, Donald Barr, is the guy who started Epstein's career, who both gave him his first job, for which he was not qualified, and then got him his second job at Bear Stearns, for which he was definitely unqualified. What is that? Former CIA guy. OSS guy. But anyway, the point is,
Oh, yeah, the former CIA guy giving him all these, like, jobs and opportunities. No CIA involvement here. He's just a regular Joe, according to the official government version of events here. Yeah, right.
that question of how an American citizen, kid toucher or not, could get murdered in federal lockup in our biggest city, like, holy shit, that should scare everybody. And then the Attorney General of the United States is covering it up. He admitted, this is the Attorney General, when Epstein was murdered, said, I told everyone around me, we need to make sure the country believes this was a suicide. It's like you haven't even done a freaking investigation. You're the chief law enforcement officer, and you're telling me the outcome before you even look into it?
How do you know that?
Because he admitted it in his autobiography. And so I'm not guessing at any of this stuff, okay? So
Criminal conduct that deserves to be fully investigated, but it's not. If you're the FBI director and you really want to get to the bottom of this, or the head of the DOJ, you bring in Bill Barr, be like, what did you know? What happened? Why did you try to convince people of this narrative when you didn't even know if it was true or not yourself? You didn't investigate this, but you're going off of this official type of line of understanding that you were propelling and pushing on people. But they're not doing that. What they are doing is they're coming out and they're saying, well, there was no blackmail operation. He totally took himself out. Nothing to see here. Good night. Case closed. Goodbye. Unsigned memo from the FBI.
So I call Bureau of Prisons and I'm like, I want the names of the inmates who are serving on this block, because clearly nobody got in or out of the block. It's
Right. Well, it also was a question to our prison system. It's like, how would you not know? Like, obviously, this is the guy you have to protect.
They did it on purpose, and he was murdered clearly by another inmate. And there is so much. I mean, I did like an hour on this. Anyone interested can look it up. But I'm not a conspiracy nut at all. I've been a journalist my whole life. I've often been wrong, but I've always been attentive to what I believe the facts to be. I think it really matters whether you're accurate.
He started looking into the facts of a lot of stuff and was like, holy cow, we're being lied to. And then, of course, the biggest lie is what's happening with the Epstein stuff.
And I've tried to be. So it was not a perfect storm of screw-ups. They never did the investigation into how this guy died. They redressed him in clothes that he wasn't wearing when he died for pictures in the hospital infirmary. All the records of what happened to his body are gone.
Why did you do that? Why wasn't there any kind of official investigation, as even the neck breakage wasn't consistent of a self-harm incident, right?
And critically, we cannot get, and I tried directly by calling the Attorney General's office, I want a list of the names of the inmates. It's publicly available. They're convicted felons, dude. Yeah. This is not secret information. It's not national security information. Why can't you tell me that? They allowed him to be murdered in federal lockup. So leave all the pedo island.
And it was very convenient. Why? Because he knew a lot of secrets on a lot of very powerful people. And once you eliminate him, you can't get him to testify. As of course, a lot of people were believing he was going to testify to get himself freed.
And stuff out of it. And just ask yourself, how can we continue to live in a country where a high-profile inmate can be murdered in our prison system by some who's powerful enough to do that?
Right.
Yeah. Very powerful people that don't want you knowing what actually really happened.
And so these are not only legitimate questions, they're essential questions. And like, we're mad at the people asking them?
That's the weirdest thing.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. 110%. How dare you get mad at people demanding answers and accountability and transparency here, when, of course, we need to unravel what really is happening behind the scenes at government that clearly isn't telling us the truth here. Now, MTG looks like she lost her seat in power. She talks about getting threatened. She talks about how the system is too broken. And the thing that broke this relationship was the Epstein stuff, right? And this was what she recently said on 60 Minutes about her private conversations with Donald Trump, who most likely was a federal informant for the FBI against Epstein, by the way. Epstein's victims and the lawyers came out and said, Trump helped us out a lot. Trump was the only person really in high status of society that came out and actually gave us information that helped the victims here. So Donald Trump clearly could be the hero here of this story. And MTG even said, hey, Trump, get the victims in the White House. Let's do this. Let's get this out. Let's get this transparency. Let's hold these people accountable. And Donald Trump allegedly said that people will be hurt here. What?
Right, Georgia?
One of the president's biggest beefs with Green was about her harping on Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, and so is Thomas Massie. And, of course, this is why Donald Trump said he's going to primary Thomas Massie and he's going to primary MTG, because they keep pushing and pushed and successfully passed the discharge petition.
We did talk about the Epstein files, and he was extremely angry at me that I had signed the discharge petition to release the files. I fully believe that those women deserve everything they're asking. They're asking for all of it to come out. They deserve it. And he was furious with me.
What did he say?
He said that it was going to hurt people. I had asked him, these women are the ones that were hurt.
What people? And why are we protecting them? And why are you destroying your political capital and reputation and protecting those individuals that a lot of people voted for you to hold accountable for their egregious actions? This feeling of injustice, this feeling that there's a two-tier justice system, that the rich get to hurt children and get away with it because they have money and power and influence, is something that people naturally feel is unjust. People naturally feel like they're extremely pissed off about this is their red line. And this is what I've been saying from the very beginning. People, other influencers, like, it's going to go away. It doesn't matter. Shut up. No, you're overstating it. I haven't. I've been right on the money about all this stuff from the very beginning.
They were raped at 14. They were raped at 16. I watched them stand in front of the press, trembling, their bodies shaking as they were telling their stories, many of them for the first time. And I had told him, I said, you know, you have all kinds of people come in the White House. Have these women come in the White House. These women deserve to be heard.
He said to you, people will get hurt.
People will get hurt. I don't know what that means. I don't know who they are.
There were other clashes with the president.
Yeah, that was the main one, right? Now, Kash Patel was recently asked about this 2 weeks ago, and he gave a very vague, generalized answer here. And again, you kind of are left questioning here, why? Why is there such a deliberate cover-up effort here of all of this? Well, why are we left with trying to figure out what's going on here? And what's going to be happening now is we're getting reports that there's over $1 million being spent on overtime, redacting these Epstein files, which have been in the possession of this administration since they got into political office. Pam Bondi, the files are on my desk, coming out soon. We got to protect the victims. We got to redact the victim's name. And I'm like, it doesn't take 6-9 months to redact victim's name. And then they came out, said, case closed. We investigated ourselves. We found ourselves totally innocent, which is wild, which is crazy. Here's what the FBI director had to say.
On the Epstein files. The Epstein Files Transparency Act has a very tight deadline, 30 days, to produce unclassified records. Will the FBI meet the 30-day deadline?
Well, we are working with our partners at the Department of Justice to produce, as we've always committed to producing, what we can lawfully, legally produce. And we will continue to meet those metrics.
What does that mean? Well, they also announced a new investigation. And if there's an ongoing investigation, legally, lawfully, they cannot release the files. And that's probably what's going to happen here. And we're going to get a bunch of old stuff. And I think they're just going to throw a bunch of stuff at us. And some of it is going to be heavily redacted. Very heavily redacted. That's my estimate. And then it's going to be the holidays. And then they're going to think people are going to forget. They're like, oh, yeah, people are going to forget. People are not going to care. It's the holidays. Who cares?
Reminding the public that there are court orders in place, protective orders, and orders to seal in place that legally prohibit the disclosure of information related to any investigation when there's a court order of that fashion. So we're working with DOJ to say if we can produce anything more.
As FBI director, will you commit to as few blacked out sections or redactions as possible?
We always do. We have in our productions to Congress, which have been historic to this year, and we'll treat every matter in the same fashion while also upholding always victims' rights. Victims' rights in any case, whether it's President Trump's case.
The victims are pissed. The victims were sold a lie. The victims were used as a scapegoat not to release the files originally, and then they were told there's no files, go home. Don't tell me you care about the victims. And if you're going to treat it the same way like you did all this other stuff, don't expect anything big. All right. JFK files, huge disappointment. I talked to a lot of people who had insider knowledge. They were like, yeah, they hid a bunch of really powerful, crazy stuff in there. And made sure it never came out to the general public. So, yeah, expect to have more loss of a political capital. Expect to have more problems that are going to carry forward on to the midterms. And this is major. This is big. And this is something that people will not forget. People will not forgive. And this will be something, unless fully rectified, unless there's accountability, unless there's justice, unless there's powerful people actually held accountable for their illegal, illicit actions, there's going to be some major problems. Will it come out that Trump was a federal informant? We'll see. If he does, he'll look like for some people, he'll look like a hero. But then it might also come out why he was a federal informant, and that might be one of the reasons why we're not getting it. That's one theory out there. What do you think? Why do you think we're really not getting it? Let me know down in the comment section below. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys watching, subscribing, checking out wearechange.shop, getting yourself some good magnesium glycinate, and supporting your own individual health journey. And this is why I end almost every single broadcast by saying, I love you guys. Stay tuned for more. All here exclusively on youtube.com/weare.